There's a moment in stories like this that people always try to find. A moment where everything clearly went wrong. A single point where, if someone had acted differently, noticed something sooner, said something earlier, the outcome could have changed. But the truth is, moments like that are rare. What actually happens is slower, quieter, harder to see, because nothing breaks all at once. It builds, day by day, word by word, silence by silence. Inside that house, it didn't start with violence. It started with tension, the kind that doesn't explode but never leaves. Conversations that didn't end, they just paused. Arguments that didn't resolve, they just repeated. The same topics coming back again and again, wearing down patience in small, almost invisible ways. At first, those moments were controlled. Voices stayed low, movements stayed calm. But repetition changes things, because when something happens enough times, it stops feeling like a moment and starts feeling like a condition. Morning would come the same way every day, the father waking up at the same time, moving through the same routine. Coffee, silence, no unnecessary words, just function. The mother present, but not fully engaged. Her responses shorter than they used to be. Her attention drifting in small ways that would have gone unnoticed by anyone else. But inside that house, nothing went unnoticed. Because when two people are locked in a cycle of tension, every detail matters. The child was there, quiet, observing, learning. Because children don't need explanations to understand something is wrong. They feel it. In the silence, in the pauses, in the way conversations stop when they enter the room. And over time, that silence becomes normal to them. That's how environments shape people, not through what is said, but through what is never said at all. Days passed like that. Nothing dramatic, nothing loud, just repetition, until repetition becomes pressure. And pressure, without release, doesn't disappear. It waits. There were nights where the arguments stretched longer, still not loud enough to draw attention outside, but different, more strained, more deliberate, words chosen more carefully, but carrying more weight. Because when people reach that point, they're no longer trying to solve anything, they're trying to endure it. And endurance has limits. One night, something shifted, not in a way that could be measured from the outside, not something a neighbor would hear, but inside, it was different. The argument didn't follow the usual pattern. It didn't cycle, it didn't pause, it escalated, not quickly, but steadily, one word leading to another, one reaction triggering the next. The kind of escalation that feels controlled at first, until it isn't. Because control, once strained, doesn't break cleanly, it snaps. And when it does, it's never as contained as people expect. The moment itself was brief. That's another detail people misunderstand. They imagine something long, drawn out, obvious. But it wasn't. It happened fast. A movement, a reaction, a loss of control that lasted only seconds. And then, stillness. The kind of stillness that doesn't feel peaceful. It feels final. That's the moment everything changes. Not gradually, immediately. Because once something irreversible happens, every decision that follows becomes about one thing: control. The first decision wasn't emotional. It wasn't about grief or regret. It was practical. What now? That's how the mind works in those moments. Not what happened, but what happens next. The house became quiet again, but not the same kind of quiet. This was different, heavier, intentional. The body was moved, not far, just enough to remove it from sight, because distance wasn't the goal, containment was. The ground outside was disturbed, not carefully, not precisely, but quickly, because time was no longer something he felt he had. The decision to bury it there wasn't about logic, it was about immediacy, solving the problem in the moment. That's why it wasn't perfect, that's why it didn't stay hidden. But in that moment, it felt sufficient, because panic doesn't aim for perfection, it aims for resolution. The house was cleaned, surfaces wiped, objects returned to their places, the routine rebuilt, because routine creates illusion. and illusion keeps questions away. The next morning, everything continued. The father left for work, at the same time, the same way, because the routine had to stay intact. That's what makes situations like this difficult to detect. From the outside, nothing changed, and people trust what they see, even when what they see isn't real. Days turned into weeks. The routine held, but maintaining something like that requires effort, constant effort. Every movement calculated, every interaction controlled. The light upstairs became part of that system. It wasn't random, it wasn't forgetfulness, it was intentional, a signal of normalcy, a way to create the appearance of presence, because absence raises questions, and questions lead to attention. The smell was the first failure, because some things can't be controlled, no matter how careful someone is, no matter how much they try to manage the environment. Reality has its own way of surfacing. The ground was the second. Disturbance never disappears completely. It fades, but it doesn't vanish. And then, there was the neighbor. Awareness. Observation. The one variable that can't be predicted. That's what broke everything. Because once someone starts noticing patterns, they stop seeing the illusion. They start seeing the structure behind it. The call to the police wasn't dramatic, but it was enough, because attention changes everything. When the officers arrived, they weren't expecting what they found. That's important, because it shows how effective the illusion had been. Even with the signs, even with the details, it still looked normal, until it didn't. The moment the smell was recognized inside the house, everything shifted, because now it wasn't just observation, it was evidence. The discovery outside confirmed it, and once confirmed, control ends. That's what happens in every case like this. The moment the truth becomes visible, the structure built around it collapses. The father's reaction remained controlled for longer than expected. But even control has limits, and once those limits are reached, what's underneath becomes visible. His explanation wasn't detailed, it wasn't emotional, but it was enough. Enough to understand the pattern, enough to see how something small became something permanent. Because that's what people struggle to accept, that something like this doesn't always come from extreme circumstances. Sometimes it comes from ordinary ones. Tension, repetition, unresolved conflict, the kind of things people experience every day, but handle differently. That's the difference. Not the situation, the response to it. And once that response crosses a line, everything changes. The house remains, physically unchanged, but meaning something completely different. Because places remember, not in a literal sense, but in the way people perceive them. Once something happens somewhere, it stays attached to that space. The silence is no longer peaceful. The routine is no longer comforting. Everything becomes a reminder of what was hidden, of what was missed, of how long it went unnoticed. And that's what stays with people, not just the outcome, but the process. How something so serious can exist in plain sight, without interruption, without detection, until someone decides to look closer. And that's the final truth in all of this. Nothing about this was invisible. It was just unnoticed. And there's a difference, because invisible things can't be seen, but unnoticed things are right in front of you, waiting until someone finally sees them. Subscribe for more true crime stories. Turn on notifications so you never miss what's next. Because some stories don't just end, they stay with you. This is Forgotten Evidence, Buried Truth.